the Zoom platform in compliance with the governor's executive order allowing us to meet remotely until March 25th. Is that right?
I think
Unless extended, and I guess there's efforts to work on that, and personally, I hope they continue to allow us to do this, but we'll see.
I
We'll
hope they
take-
decide in a better fashion than they did last time.
Yeah, but I don't know as they will.
Yeah.
I know.
Um,
Remember that we booked all those meeting rooms?
That's right.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, so we've got to take that into account because it's only 8 weeks away.
Okay.
We'll do a roll call to determine whether we have a quorum. Carolyn,
Here.
MJ,
Here.
Ellie,
Here.
Beth,
Here.
Wayne, you awake?
Yes. Here.
Oh, good. And Tim,
He's
We have
just
a quorum.
reserving his energy.
we'll call the meeting to order at 7:33. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes from the 7th of January?
So moved.
The
Second.
second, and any additions or corrections? And we'll do a roll call on that. Carolyn,
Aye.
Beth,
Aye.
Ellie,
Hi.
MJ,
Aye.
Wayne,
Aye.
Tim is aye. That's unanimous. Thank you. Payment of bills. We have no bills.
Yeah.
Approval and acceptance of the 2024 town report. Has everybody had a chance to review that?
No.
Do you want us to pull it up on the screen?
Wait, where's my email?
All right. And
here's
by, and by us, you mean
You.
the royal us.
the royal us, exactly. Yeah, let me just find it.
The clerk's duties.
Um,
Town report.
Little longer this year, guys.
That's okay. You've done doing stuff generates words. That's totally fine.
Okay.
Every year the Conservation Commission, like I take out, I use smaller words. I try my best to keep it to 2 pages. All right. Oop. Hey, wait a minute. Where'd it go? There we go. All right. Let me come back to you guys. And share. There we go.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay.
So I'll give people a moment to scroll down and see what they think if there's comments.
Some of the numbers should get centered. The grid looks a little wonky just the way they're aligned, but that's me being a pain.
Oh, you don't
Like-
think they're lined? Oh, I see.
I
All the
mean,
way over in total.
they can stay right justified, but you need to deal with the spacing
okay.
so that it's more in the center of the columns. I mean, I'm all about keeping the numbers, organized to the right side, but there's ways to indent or however. And if not, worse comes to worse, then center 'em. That's just my opinion. I think this chart's really helpful.
Yep. That's crazy. Almost 2.5 million
Right,
since we start in 4 years, 5 years.
right.
Like, couldn't we have just spent like $224 more? Like, I don't want to promote extra
I
spending, but
know.
it would have been such a nicer number.
Right, well, this is revenue, sadly.
Oh,
Yeah.
Can
You want to
Okay,
write
so
us?
can we-
Write a check,
Yeah.
donate on your taxes.
Everybody done there? Just a quick aside, Maureen, do you know what year we bought 72 Carter Street?
That would have been in fiscal 24, I think, Tim, is that right?
It's the beginning of fiscal 20. Oh,
Because that would have been the first year that I was with you guys.
it was just a year ago, July.
Well,
Yeah,
last July would
last
have been
July.
FY 25, so it would have been two.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure, I think it was, FY 24.
Yeah, it wasn't, it wasn't the year before. It was 20, so it was in
was in-
23.
it was in-
May
It
May
was in
town meeting in
23?
23.
Really? We don't have those dates in there anywhere?
I
It's just
actually, this
I would
application.
have said it was September of last year.
So,
I guess it's
Well,
not this year. No. You're right.
I mean,
Because we went to May. Yeah, you're right. Because last,
would have been a May meeting. And
yes, it would have May.
Carolyn's been working with Sudbury Valley trustees for a while on the,
But it would have been
language
fiscal year
for the-
24, right? Because it would have been like July of 23.
well, May of 23.
Well, voted and then
And then
Yeah.
purchased
purchased like in September.
Yeah,
you're right, purchase in September according to the file.
September, but FY 24.
Correct.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And talking with Kristen about looking for some documents about that, and neither one of us could remember when it was bought.
So I have a file,
Yes.
Carolyn. That's why these little agreement letters that I send out to the applicants is helpful,
Right.
because it calls out all the dates. So it was May 1st of 23 was your annual town meeting, 125K, 6.5 acres.
You scroll up, Carolyn.
I can. And that's the end of it.
It's good.
Awesome.
Do you need a motion to accept it?
yes, please.
So move. Make a motion to accept the report.
Second.
I will.
We got a second. Okay, so we'll do a roll call. Wayne,
Aye.
Beth,
Aye.
Ellie,
Hi.
MJ,
Aye.
Carolyn,
Aye.
Tim is aye. Unanimous. Thank you very much. Thank you, Maureen. That worked. That was good. Nice job.
And we're so proud of ourselves because we will not have to be asked where it is. We'll be one of the in the middle.
Braggart.
We don't get points for those things, but I'm just saying.
Yeah.
We totally do get points for those things.
Right.
Okay. Discussion and updates with applicants requesting CPA. I see Ethan's in the audience, so let's do Horseshoe Pond first and see what we've got for any updates. Now, in the time between this meeting and our last meeting, Maureen managed to get a comment from Stuart regarding the use of town employees. And I've shared that with Carolyn. I don't think we sent it to anybody else. But I will read what he said. Which I'll find. And you want to elevate Ethan if you haven't?
Yeah, I'll actually promote him to a panelist. One sec, I gotta take him out. Oh
So
no. Oh no, he's gone.
You took him out. Good job, Carol.
Apparently.
Oops.
We already have a shortage of people in town government. We can't afford to take any of them out.
Right.
Well, no.
so Stuart's comment was the best guidance we have on this is the attached letter from DOR. Unfortunately, they don't get into the nuances of regular pay versus overtime. They only cite the fact that no municipal employees can use CPA funds for CPA implementation due to no supplanting rule of CPA. Given that prohibition, our advice would be to steer clear of paying any town employees with CPA funds. At the very least, it would seem to violate the intention of the no supplanting rule. But as with all things CPA, it's a local decision.
What do they mean supplanting? I don't understand that. I mean, I know what the word means, but I don't understand.
We can't use CPA funds to do things that the town would normally be doing. I think it is the issue here.
Right.
So
Okay, thank you.
So one of the things we want to talk about tonight is June and Kristen, their opinion to Carolyn and Ethan was it's outside of the normal work that the highway department employees would be doing. They would volunteer to do it. They wouldn't be required, and it would be paid as overtime out of a special budget, not the
Oh
town.
no.
What?
Crap. So
What?
I sent Ethan a text saying, sorry, come back in. And it says that he is unable to join the webinar because I removed him.
Tell him he can come down to my house and join here with me.
Okay.
Tell him that.
Can he phone in?
Or he can phone, or maybe. Yeah.
You phone
The power you yield. Huh?
right? Oh my gosh.
She didn't just like she banished.
Right.
I guess.
Don't piss her off. This is what we've learned.
I learned that a long time ago.
All right. I'm new to this, right? Learning.
The power. Wow.
I'll also show my
Oh, if
phone.
only you could use it in other areas, right, Carolyn?
Right? He said he's trying from his phone.
Wow.
I know.
well, lesson learned.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah, that's interesting. One wouldn't have thought that that had been the case. So when we first got this, I shared it with Carolyn and we talked about the other option, which is if someone is hired as a sole proprietor, then you don't have to comply with the prevailing wage law,
Here he is.
which is one of the obstacles in working with smaller sums and smaller projects is you get tied up in all that paperwork and rigmarole. So the question was, is there someone as a sole proprietor that might be approached that might be interested in doing the work on this project? And then the committee could, sort of weigh the options of, do we want to say, because it's outside of the normal highway department's regular work and it's paid at time and a half and it's not required but volunteered, is that distinctly different from supplanting? Are we saying that they would have done this work anyway and we're paying for it out of CPA and the town doesn't have to pay for it now? That's the sort of the juggling question we're involved with.
Yeah,
Well,
well,
are they-
I would think the fact, if we're judging it to be different, then it would be hard to imagine how we could also pay overtime because it's the overtime, we're not paying them overtime over what we're normally doing because we don't normally employ them. So if we're acting as kind of a separate employer here, then I don't think we could rightly pay them overtime under that definition. I think that would be perhaps a bridge too far bureaucratically.
Right. Is that semantics though? If the quote was given to us as this is the rate that they will get paid to do this work.
Okay, I can see that.
We do,
Um,
the word overtime though was, like, overtime rate was what, like, something what the table says, right? And so we should just be clear.
Sure,
What we're doing.
100%, right.
But is the town defining that they wouldn't allow the work to be done otherwise?
Hmm.
I mean, if the town's saying we're not going to allow this project to be done on town time,
And we're talking about using town equipment. Anyway, Ethan, I guess you and Carolyn talked about this a little bit. You were going to reach out and see if there was anybody that you could identify as a sole proprietor, perhaps, that might be interested.
Yeah, Skip Sawyer's name was brought up. I haven't reached out to him yet. This all kind of happened recently. But I'm planning on calling him in the next couple of days to gauge his interest. And he is a sole proprietor.
Right.
That would be a good fit. And from what I know of what he's done elsewhere in the town, I don't think it's anything that's outside of his capabilities. So
yeah, no, that's true.
So I think he'd probably be a good fit. And if he can come in for under a certain $10,000 mark, then we don't even need to send it out for other bids. It's just or deal with prevailing wages or any of that kind of stuff. So
yeah.
It'd be almost as easy as going through the town.
No, that's a good point. Other thoughts from the committee?
Do we,
So
how much of the decision has to be made, like, for the warrant article?
we still have, I mean, we don't have to. We meet on February 4th. Is that right, Maureen?
Correct.
But the warrant doesn't close to the 24th.
Okay.
21st, I think.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Okay.
I mean, if it's
February 24th.
I was going to say, I mean, if it's an issue and that's what we're being advised, that's what we're being advised. I mean,
So
I think that's why I was asking those questions about, well, who's to say what the town employees can or can't do?
yeah. And you always worry that you don't want to open a door that gets more complex down the road with some other proposal.
Well, I think we've run into that even with some other potentially, like even some of the stuff at the fields and things like that. You're like saying, well, why wouldn't the town do that or things like that? So I mean, I
Yeah.
think that sort of answers that question. Otherwise, there's all kinds of projects you could say, well, the town should do this, the town should do that. So I mean, I think not a precedent per se, but I think it just points us to how it can get very muddy very quick, and it might just make it clear to be like, you always get the people say, well, why can't so and so do it and just save us the money for the work, for the worker.
Right. Well,
Maybe
it
it's-
was definitely clear talking to Fred that he wasn't willing, even before a lot of the other parts of this came up, to kind of work it into the highway department's regular schedule. So from that standpoint, it is definitely not something that the town would have done.
So be it
Um,
then.
So we have a meeting on the 4th and potentially the 18th if we needed it before the warrant closes. So Ethan, there is time to reach out to Skip or someone else and get back to us when we meet on the 4th, because we don't have to act on this. We've still got some time.
Yeah, I'll reach out to Skip then, and I'm still waiting to hear back from vendors on the other kind of budget items in terms of materials and benches. So hopefully I'll have all that together for the 4th.
Other questions or comments from the committee? Everybody's good?
Yeah.
Carolyn, anything else?
I don't think so. I think by the next meeting, it would be helpful for us, well, maybe even this meeting, to get a better feel. If everybody's comfortable with that, the work is outside, is not supplanting, is that the word Stuart used?
Yeah, supplanting.
Then that would be helpful. If everybody would like us to pursue somebody else doing the work, it would be helpful to know that. It would just be kind of helpful to know from the rest of the committee kind of what direction you'd like to see us go in, so that we're not spinning our wheels.
So Wayne, I think you've,
I think it would be better. I think it would be perceived better if we did try the outside vendor first. But I think, and Tim, you know this better, but if it goes over 10,000, don't we have to send it out to bid, or because it's CPA, it's not really the town, we don't have to do that? I don't know.
no, I think we're still bound by that. That's what Ethan was talking about in terms of trying to get someone to quote us a number that was under 10 for this
Yeah.
part of the work. So
Yeah, Kristen said that it would anything over 10 needs to go through a bid process.
yeah.
So that's kind of part of the reason I'm trying to break it out into 3 different pieces with the benches, the materials, and the labor of the site work.
Yeah.
And then I think that's valid. I hope it's valid. She seemed to sound like think it was, so we'll see how it goes. But I'll operate under the assumption that we're going to be trying to use an outside vendor, and hopefully Skip can come in under 10K. We'll see how it goes.
But I think that's an important point that as long as, Kristen's clear on that, like if you're saying each component needs to be broken up, and if it's the same vendor, or, you don't want somebody to say, well, you needed to aggregate those because, you couldn't just go around and do it. I mean, if you're implying that you'd have that same vendor do 3 different parts of the job at 3 different times, therefore
It's 3
that's not what
separate
you're saying.
vendors. It's no,
Oh,
it's three
then,
separate
oh,
vendors.
okay. So as long as no one vendor is over 10, you're good. Okay.
No, I believe that's how it works, but I need to verify that with Kristen, or I'll deal with it with Kristen. But there's the site work end of it, which is basically going to be the site prep, the surfacing and setting, or at least providing holes for posts, and then minimally providing prepped, kind of graded and compacted areas for benches. And then it's probably going to be volunteer labor for the carpentry, pouring the concrete, and setting the benches. And the benches are on a separate vendor, and the materials for all that, all the wood, pressure treated hardware, all that's just lumberyard separate.
Good. Good. Any other thoughts from the committee?
So do you have your answer, Carolyn? I think.
I think we probably should just pursue an outside vendor.
Yeah,
Seems
I'm
to be the
operating under
consensus.
assumption- I'm operating under the assumption that's the way it's going to go at this point.
Yeah.
That sounds
Yeah.
like what I'm hearing from the committee, and that's fine. We'll make it work.
Yeah,
You know,
I'm not
hopefully-
necessarily against it going through highway department, doing it separate if that became our only or best option, but I think, if we can avoid being in a position to have to set a precedent now, that is a better position to be in, because we're just complicate later stuff.
Well, I think the guidance is there, so.
Yeah.
Great.
Sounds good.
Well, thanks, Ethan. I'm sorry this ends up being
Thank
so
you.
complex, but
All
we
right.
hang in there.
That's the nature of the beast. You
Right.
just got to roll with it.
Next time you need to do a parking lot, we'll know all this, right?
Well, and next time Carolyn won't throw you off base here by, yeah.
It's all good. It's all good. We'll make it work.
Okay.
I'll endeavor to get all that stuff together for the February 4th meeting. And thank you for your time, and have a great
Great.
rest of your night.
Thank
Hey.
you for yours.
Sorry
Thank
for
you.
Have a
sorry
good
for booting
evening.
you out.
Ethan, anything you can get, you can piecemeal to me, and I'd be more than happy to get it to the members prior to the 4th.
Yeah,
Like,
as soon as I get numbers
earlier,
back from
and
vendors,
then-
I'll send them to you as soon
And
as I
that
get
way,
them.
yeah, as soon as you get it, shoot it to me, and then I'll get it to everybody. Yeah.
Will do.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you. Take care.
Take care.
Bye.
Good night.
Right.
Preservation of the Town Historical Clothing Collection. We did get an email from June regarding the payment plan. And Maureen, do you have that at hand? I can find it too, but if you've got it.
Yeah. Let's see if I have it. Can you see that?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. See, you wanted to.
There.
So basically what she's saying is she wants to invoice the possible vendor for this would want to invoice at the end of each month. And then it looks like she wants a point person for oversight.
Who wants a point person for oversight?
June Miller.
I would say that when it comes to a contractual relationship with a vendor, it's probably best for her to deal with Kristen.
Yeah.
Because Kristen will give her the right guidance as to how to work with the contractor's proposal and stuff.
I mean, the proposal can be the contract, basically. If it outlines
Yeah.
it, then it's just you accept the contract and, or accept the proposal, that's your contract. Just making sure it outlines this stuff, but Kristen, would imagine knows all that.
Yeah,
I
and
don't think
and
you
the
need to
notion
nuance.
of being paid at the end of each month is, I think we'd all find that acceptable, right?
Yeah, sure.
Mhm.
Keeps
Good.
it clear where you're at.
Thanks, Maureen.
Okay.
So that's the update on that one. I think that was the outstanding question we had in regard to the Historic Commission's proposal. There wasn't anything else that I remember, right?
That's it.
And the last one is the 1870 Town Hall front steps. As you know, the committee that worked there has disbanded. I reached out to them to ask if they would be willing to go after some fine-tuned figures from the proponent. They're hesitant to continue to be involved just because they have disbanded. I've got the information for the vendor, so I thought I might just reach out. I looked at it again. I mean, basically, it's $10,000 to do the design work, and that everything else that's to be determined is based on the fact that without the design work, they really don't know what the implementation portion of the project would be. So it's a question of whether, and I guess I'll chat with Kristen about this again, but
And
if the figure can drop under 10, then it may get easier for the town to entertain that.
can the town just be the proponent for it? I mean, if the Board of Selectmen says, I mean, there's a committee that would do it, whatever, but I mean, if the
Right.
point is that,
So I guess
there's,
I
do you
was
know what I'm
trying to-
saying?
I was trying to remember when I went to the select board last week, I guess, didn't I?
January 6th.
I went to the select board last week and asked if they would be willing to be the proponent, and they said yes. So they would be the proponent, make the proposal on the town floor for this particular project if we were to approve its recommendation to the town meeting.
And then if that was the case, then the architect would report back to them with the proposal and they would look at it and
Yeah.
say, yep, move to the next phase, not move to the next phase.
Yeah. So
It's their building, right? They own it.
Yeah.
We own it. They manage the building.
Yeah.
So it doesn't necessarily have to be a team of volunteers.
So that's the status of that one. I don't think I mean, basically we were questioning the $10,000 figure and was there someone that wanted to spearhead it? So there is someone that'll spearhead it, and
Well, that's good. This will be our first select board sponsored
yeah.
item.
Other questions about any of the three projects that we've still got on deck here? Anybody have any other comments?
Nope.
How do you feel? Do you want to wait and deal with all three of these at the same time, or do you want to, like the clothing one is fairly complete? Did you want to take action on that tonight, or do you want to wait and do them all at the same time?
I think it makes sense to do them all at the same time. I mean, that way it's just clear, it's in the minutes, it doesn't get separated out into different meetings when somebody says, well, when did you do this? When did you do? And if, God forbid something changes in that short period of time, so.
Everybody good with that?
Yeah.
All right,
Sure.
good. Chair updates. June, Maureen and I caught June in the hall the other day, and before we could ask, she said, now that tax bills have gone out and books are closed and all that, she feels more comfortable about generating some numbers for CPA in regard to the amounts of money that are available in the different buckets, what's been expended and what's left out of what's been already appropriated, and then what's left in the budgeted reserve and the general fund. So hopefully we get some numbers, as we were maybe within the next month, and we'd be in a position where we had a clearer idea of what was available as we get ready to go to town meeting. So we'd be able to put the language in the article to draw from the accounts that would be associated with the projects rather than having to pull it out of budgeted reserve. They've always suggested to us that where there's a bucket with money that's specific to one of these three categories, you pull it out of that first. And so if we know how much is available in those funds, then we can follow that advice.
Tim, can I make
go ahead.
one comment on the budget stuff?
Please.
So, back in the fall, we were slotted to go into the FinCom on February 5th. So I don't know if you're going to go to them and report, because if the votes happen on the 4th, I guess you could tell them, because wasn't the new plan that if we had anything that was going to impact town budgets, we would go. I think you went last year and talked to them. So anyways, it's on the calendar for February 5th, FinCom. Just wanted to bring that to your attention.
Yeah, so the historical collection article wouldn't have a long-term impact on maintenance costs or whatever. The 1870 steps, I mean, you could argue if there's another set of steps, someone's going to have to shovel those, but it's a minimal
That's
compared to
negligible.
something.
Right. And what we're approving money for is for the plan, not for the
Yeah.
actual steps.
That's true, although the implication is that at some point there might be steps.
It would
so-
lead to steps.
Yeah,
That would be the goal.
If they're gonna
Uh,
shovel,
the
if they're gonna be there
Gateway
to shovel, they're
project.
gonna be there to shovel.
follow the Yellow Brick Road. And then the parking lot, again, it'd be, if I assume that the plan would be to plow it in the winter, so there'd be some main. We can advise them of that, I suppose.
Okay.
I
But
mean,
we are
what,
talking
can I
about-
ask a question? Carolyn, what's the lifespan of that? I mean, is there maintenance on that? I thought you guys said that the whole point of the way it's being is low maintenance and not eating
Right.
stuff.
Correct. That is exactly the point. I mean, at some point, I assume the substrate would need to be refreshed, but I don't believe any of us will be on this committee when that needs to happen. And I mean, so right, so other than plowing, the whole point is to make it as low maintenance as possible.
Yeah. So, right now, we've got 3 projects in total for less than $50,000, right? We don't know fully what Ethan's numbers will be, but I think, generally he was talking less than 25, I thought, right?
I believe so, yeah.
And so compared to some years, we're really not asking for a substantial use of CPA funds, which is good in a lot of ways because it means that we're building a reserve that would allow us to act fairly quickly on opportunities, perhaps dealing with parcels of land, for instance. So that would be good. So that's what I know about funding. Housing trust update. I'm relying on Beth to chat with Housing Trust to, over the course of time, generate some ideas about what language we might use in an agreement, so.
Yep,
I
that is
don't have
on.
any Other than that,
Yeah, we meet tomorrow for the first time since we brought it up. So,
That's great.
The meeting cadence is so whack between the two groups. I'm like, yeah, in a meeting or two, we'll get back to you, which will be like 4 months.
Wow.
I mean, obviously winter is very slow. Obviously, we're likely to pick up in the spring, but
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
that is on our docket.
That'll be member update. So membership update, I've reached out to Felicia again and said, we'd be happy to have someone from rec appointed to participate in the committee and serve. And she responded to me at one point and said, that was something that they would attend to. So I can reach out again. I can look, maybe I'll go online tomorrow and see when they're planning on meeting and invade one of their meetings.
Yeah, and Tim, like as we talked, it might be more desirable if somebody just felt that they were going to be just finishing out the term that was left versus having to commit to the 3 years.
That's right. Yeah.
So maybe if someone just knows like it's just gonna, I think it's 1.5 years that's left. Sometimes that makes it a little bit easier versus the 3 years.
How
Right.
they suck you in.
That's how they, yeah.
Jesus,
Yep.
You people
Whatever
are-
it takes.
Right. MJ's like, yep.
And then the warrant is, like we said, the warrant closes the 24th, so we're in good position. And as Maureen said, we're scheduled to meet with the Finance Committee on the 5th. We didn't hear from Capital Planning, did we?
Not that I'm aware of.
Last year I met with Capital Planning too, but
But that was because of the field being such a big project.
yeah, I suppose that was their
Yeah,
primary.
and I think Greg and John might have reached out to them first and then brought you in after. I think that might
Yeah.
have helped. That worked, yeah.
Member inputs, anything else anybody wants to talk about in regard to those items? Everybody's good? Member input and updates. I was going to ask Beth if you had any news regarding Jasifa's departure and whether Central Mass was saying anything to you folks.
I have no official communication since there's not yet been a meeting. So I can,
She'll let you know tomorrow.
Put it
I'll let you know tomorrow.
put it on your ask list.
Talk
on
about
my app
formal, huh?
I know, right?
CPA sent
there's
me to
also
the
been
meeting
no-
with a whole list of things to ask.
Exactly, exactly. We've had one.
Anybody else with anything to update? Ellie, you guys chatted
Met
with
with
somebody?
a prospective project manager. When was it? Friday morning. I haven't heard anything back. But we have a couple of heating contractors that we're also meeting with in the next week, so hopefully I can get some updates. June Miller wasn't at the Friday meeting, so I haven't talked to her. See what was the outcome. There's one I didn't get the feeling that he would have been good for the job, but I'm not sure that he thinks that this project is, I don't know, glamorous enough for him. I don't know.
Mhm.
It's a
Yeah.
small house with a low budget. It's not. He was talking about some of the houses that they had done in Newport, Rhode Island. I thought this is nothing like Newport, Rhode
This-
Island.
Nope.
We'll see. We'll see.
Do we need to like try to create some motion around here, like dig up a street and make
Don't say
waterfront
that.
property or
Don't
something?
say that. Don't
All we
say
have
that.
to do is wait. We'll be
Right?
waterproof enough.
Right.
Yeah. Wait, can we find a sea captain that used to live there at least?
You don't want to manifest waterfront, trust me.
Mhm.
Bring back the ghost of Charlie Cotting.
There you
Right?
go. There you go. Any other updates?
We have any more information on the new website? Is there timing? Maureen, have you talked to him lately?
No, and just, I think the next step for us is to get the photos up from, that we got from Marty Miller, but I haven't gotten the thumb drive yet, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
No, and there hasn't been any, follow-up on that. Like I said, he thought our page was decent. I think there were others that needed, things to be attended to, so, we're in pretty good shape. Like all our minutes are all up. We've got the link to My Town Government. I did take down the FY26 application, just lack of confusion to people. So like I look at it usually right after this meeting when I try to put the minutes up. So
And
nothing new and exciting there until we get
Did
the
you ever-
photos.
Did you ever
I-
ask him? Sorry, Tim, go ahead.
I promised to get you the thumb drive, so you'll have the photos. I
Yeah.
failed.
Did
Well,
you ever
Wayne-
ask him about doing the short URL that's town of Berlin /CPA? See,
No.
can you ask him if how we can get, so instead of them having to go town of Berlin, blah, whatever, //// to just create a short URL that's town of Berlin /CPAC, so that it would just take them to our page. That's what we want to put on the signs.
Yeah,
Before.
that's right.
So since I'm
The
not being
signs.
effective in actually moving that forward, at least if we can get the bit of information that what I am.
Yeah,
be-
yeah. Yeah, like I said, I don't have, we're in the middle of January, so probably if I don't hear from him, I'll reach out next week or the next
I
week.
mean,
just to see
that's something
follow-ups to
he,
do.
that's something he should be able to do in like 5 minutes. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't require a lot of planning. It's just like, so it's not so much to me, it's not so much a question of can they, it's like, they should be able
Just
to,
do
and
it.
please do
Yeah.
it and let me know when it's done.
Yeah.
It's not a budget breaker. It's like they have to know how to do that.
Yeah, I don't know if Kristen got a grant for this guy. I'm not really sure how it all came to be, but anyways,
Thank you.
we're taking advantage of it, I guess. Yeah.
Right?
Any
That
other?
would be
updates?
That would be a
Everybody's
good tool. That would be a good tool for Kristen to know how to do, or somebody that's managing the site. That's a really good, because there's probably lots of things that you want to advertise, and if you can just do that, to be able to take.
And I think that's one of the problems is there really isn't anybody that's responsible for the site. I think everybody just kind of does their own page. And I'm not even really sure if all the other boards and committees have been even that strong about having their minutes put up, Usually takes somebody to ask for a public records request for people to start panicking on where's my minutes kind of thing. But I don't know that for sure.
So you put the minutes for this on the townofberlin.org website?
The My Town Government.
My Town Government, yeah,
so I-
because
yeah,
that's
so
where
I-
we
I-
put ours, yeah.
Yeah, I link it to the meeting. Yeah.
Any other input or updates? Everybody's good. Administrative matters.
So the only thing is we did hear from the coalition. If you weren't, you should be getting their emails because they asked for an update on the committee's names and emails. So that went out last week and Chase was doing a cleanup on their end. So they have us accurate, and when they send out emails, everybody should be getting them. So
Good.
that was pretty much it, I think.
When I had reached out to Stuart and Chase, I had asked the question about the parking lot issue, but I also asked about if if the town owned a building and a 501c3 independent from the town operated the building, could they hire work done on the building and not have to pay prevailing wage? And I'm going to ask that question again because I think it may come up sometime down the road, particularly, it might involve 1870, depending on how things progress there over the course of the next year or so in terms of how it's operated.
Did they give you an answer to your
No,
question?
and they didn't give me an answer to the other question. It was Maureen that managed to succeed there. So I may very well, she seems to have an in with those guys that I don't.
And they responded right
Yeah,
away. So I don't
they were
know.
always real good with me. They'd respond in 24, 48 hours, but
Yeah.
I've asked them twice now and I haven't gotten a response, but she got one right back. So
I wonder if you're going into their junk mail or something.
I must be, I do that with a lot of people, I think.
Yeah.
Good.
So that's all I know about that. Public input, there is no public, so there won't be any public input. And the next meeting date is February 4th. We've talked about that, 7:30. It'll be remote. We'll see what we can learn between now and then from these different projects. And
Can I ask
before
one
we
question?
adjourn, anything else on anybody's mind?
Yeah, so last time we were talking about that whole issue about doing projects on land and who controls it, and because of you're asking about the fields. Who owns the town community farm? Who owns that land? Is that town land? Or that
Which,
the community farm where we put the
The
fence?
community
Oh.
gardens
The community
by,
It's-
gardens, yeah. Who owns
Right,
it?
it's the town owns it, but it's has a CR on it.
Okay.
the town.
I thought that
so-
was a long-term lease. I thought we had
Right.
like a 99-year lease
Yeah,
on that.
so Riverbridge owns it. I believe it's a 99-year lease, and
Yeah.
that's where it stands.
Oh, is the CR next to it then?
So there's a CR on it,
Right,
which,
but we don't own it.
but we don't own it.
Got it.
We have so the first question is the land protected, I guess, is the one we got, talking about the last time. So it is protected in perpetuity as much as that's possible. And we have a lease that's quite extensive. So a longer period than any of the improvements we've made would last.
No, that makes sense. I just didn't, it just, when you asked, when the question came up about the field and
Right.
whatever, I mean,
But
go ahead.
We do need to ask some questions about how permanently protected are the fields at South Common, because there's not a CR, certainly. It's town owned. But, if improvements were made and they decided to build a library down there, where would it go? And would someone argue it ought to go on a piece that CPA funds had improved for some other use? So that's interesting questions for us to pursue, certainly.
Yeah, no, I mean, it just is interesting. I mean, getting the library made me think about it. And I was driving in by Stowe this week and noticed how it wasn't really new because it's been there a long time, but the addition that they had done on the library, which probably done in the 70s, is being torn off and something new added. Marlboro had the same thing, the addition torn off, whatever.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
just, so it's just one of those things. Thanks.
Good.
Is there a way to protect a conservation restriction could be written that still allows the rec activities,
Yeah.
but would not allow building.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the reality is it is a lot of money what they're doing, but the fields get a lot of use and a lot of money's going good after bad. I can't imagine it's going to happen. Even a system like that's going to have a lifespan and then need maintenance and things like that. So, I mean, it's in the capital budget because of I mean, this gets the initial job done, just like, we all spend money to do things in our house in 25 years, whatever, you have to redo it or whatever. So I mean, I don't want to hamstring the town. I mean, there might be a need for a building there. I mean, there's only so many places to do things. So,
Right.
it is what it is. I mean, I know that with the taxes and things like that, I mean, we've got a lot of restrictions and what percentage I heard a number, but I don't remember. Carolyn, you would know what percentage of the town is under conservation, town land, isn't it? It's a huge-
Either town-owned, private or private CRs. There's also Lester Ross and Gates Pond are all calculated in, but it's like it's either 24% or 26%.
Yeah,
So
I'm just hearing the rumblings, of just
sure.
a bit of
But
growth.
but
and
don't forget to point out that does include Gates Pond
Right.
and Lester Ross and Brewer Brook.
What's Lester Ross? I don't remember.
The Lester Ross Dam, the dam that
Oh, yeah.
on Linden Street.
Right.
Yeah. So all of that, the Brewer Brook area and Gates Pond is all
Right.
conservation land, but it's not town-owned conservation.
Town land.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So just got to stand up for it,
I'm not, it wasn't a complaint or criticism. It was just,
No. It
future
gives you
thinking,
some- Yes. Yep.
but it's good to know that.
Yeah.
Perhaps we
then-
just need to annex some territory from another town. That seems to be the solution to
Mhm.
Let's just get Gates
Future
Pond
needs.
back.
Yeah, that ain't happening.
I know.
And of course, in addition to that, there's a lot of 61A land that the town has right of first refusal on, so.
Yeah.
Which, currently can't be developed as a result of it being under 61A, so.
Right.
Good, so February 4th. Anything else? 8:29, we're doing all right, an hour, that's enough, right? And do we have a motion
Motion to
Make a
adjourn.
motion to adjourn.
and a second?
Second.
It's non-debatable. Ellie,
Yeah.
MJ,
I.
Beth,
Aye.
Wayne,
Aye.
Carolyn,
Aye.
Tim, I.